and audio.
wood.
For David.
It's gonna be fine.
I like
300
it.
years.
I like it.
All right. Here we go. Okay, go.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. Try to be quick. Okay. Our main concept was the idea of a hierarchy between spaces. We started off with a bomb between spaces. What draws you? What is your memory within space? We didn't want to define it as some physical object or some physical room. You know, everyone loves a room. But we wanted to define it as the relationships between spaces that people can love. Because this building's got to last a long time. In America, 300 years is unbelievably long. So we focused ours around a hierarchy of spaces, and that all spaces, while not necessarily being connected to each other, have a relationship with the common space. And a common space is not necessarily the living room, but the living space. Wind's pretty important.
Go in.
Yeah, wind. We know what's going on with wind.
Okay. The station.
I don't know. Everyone.
I like your 16.
Sounds good. Okay. We definitely wanted to take into consideration the relationship of the site along with your angle. So this we diagrammed where shadows would take place because shadows are going to be potentially are going to be a lot colder. So we wanted to steer away from the shadows of that and yet keep within that angle.
Thermal.
Sure. Okay, the thermal is very important because with ours we wanted to get as much thermal gain as possible. We want to make it as fast as possible. So we did a lot of diagrams into the angle. There's one with that. And then this goes down to the spatial relationship that we talked about. Different spaces having a connection that necessarily isn't seen, but it's there. And these diagrams can be, these two spaces have a connection. But the connection is the space that they have in common. And through these different diagrams, you want to characterize how you see your space and how you access. Like this one, you have a line of sight, and a line of sight doesn't allow you to travel to that space, but it does allow you to view that space, open that space, and have a different relationship tied to that space. And then, of course, the direct line of sight between space, depending on how you articulate it. And we tried to get this through our section. We had a relatively open bottom floor plan, and at the top is going to be somewhat of a almost balcony, like a ledge space, so you can see the openings below. That was really important to us. It's one thing we definitely wanted to keep, to articulate large open space.
Here's the next one.
The vegetation. On a final note, this is really important to us. 300 years from now, these Aspen trees are not going to be the same. Wind, culture, a meteorite, anything will change. So, how engraved our plan is in the site is important because we believe that the Aspen trees will recede a little bit with the wind, but as time progresses, they'll branch out and come to us. And I believe that pulling from nature, nature's going to try and make this building part of itself. It's going to, over time, land it more in the site to where eventually you won't be able to remove it from the site because nature depends upon it. And that's one thing we really wanted to look through. It's not really the 100-year mark, but that 300-year mark. But we aim a lot towards that through our design, and you can't really see it because it's not on this, but through the primary page. If you go back to the primary page, it just shows the floor plan. Yeah, so these are our main floor plans. And we articulated most of it towards that massive thermal where we get most of our heat. And we have a large concrete floor on the bottom floor that we have water running through. So as that thermal heats up that floor, we have water that's in use for the house and very heated and that was in parts of the house. And we want to get that heat from that main spot and send it through.
Go back to the standing. How did you get from there to this? How did you get from the Barcelona pavilion looking shape to this section? Go to the last slide. Last slide was, I guess it was, yeah. Well, this is one of them. I was curious how you got from the Barcelona pavilion to this.
These are really diagrams. These are
Right.
easy to know.
But if we go back to the boundary one, heading the forest and vegetation. Yeah, where's the line here?
That line really demonstrates that this what you see as the blue is your main fundamental path of wind, because the wind lands up against the velocity can massively increase. And that an object there blocking that and altering that wind will dramatically over time alter the landscape. Because this is the way the actual atoms go, so if you put something under block wind, you believe that they will push or pull these atoms back and they will respond to the site.
I've heard this a couple times now. Why is the wind pushing the point atoms so much?
The way they grow,
Did someone bring this up?
Stephen and Les talked about how they believe that the African tree line is dictated partially by the wind. They kind of set out feeders and get eaten up by the wind, and so that line is kind of mediated by the where the trees could live along that edge. So it's a little bit of supposition. Yeah.
If you go to the wind level, we have a sectional axis right here. So your axes are real strong, but where the wind is predominant and really strong, the axes really can't shoot because they can't get that tall. They can't survive in the wind. So that really creates a large barrier for the axes. And it's our belief that if we put a large structure here, it'll alter that.
I'm still pretty confused about what your idea is here. I mean, I think I heard you say, well, no, but I think I heard you say that you were more interested in the connective space than the actual space?
Well, we wanted to focus on throughout the floor plan and throughout connection data is an emphasis on the relationship between the spaces.
Okay, so that's a different way of maybe saying what I just said, is that you have these spaces, and then you have these linkages between the spaces. And you think these linkages are important to say something. I mean, what I don't know is what you're trying to do in these linkages.
The linkages in creating a space that is really comfortable, really lovable. We're trying to make the spaces really draw you into them, and to go along with that, it has to be lovable. We're trying to make a flow of space.
But why is this linkage space so much more important in your mind than the actual space of a room?
That's not what I meant to articulate.
Okay.
Right? We just wanted to keep it in mind all the time as we say the space.
Okay. So I think, let's go back to the other statement then, that you're interested in these relationships between spaces and things that connect them. What I'm not seeing yet is a strategy for doing that, right? I'm not seeing yet what you're going to implement or what you're going to do so that someone, first of all, understands that they're moving between spaces, and secondly, that this movement between the spaces is significant to this house. So let me throw out a way for you to think about this. You could think about this house, this place, as a series of spaces connected by a series of things. And if these linkages had a commonality between them, i.e., they were all about the passive nature of this house, that could be a way to tie each individual space with each other individual space. And every time I experience these linkages, it would all be about this idea that the thermal aspects of this house are incredibly important. So it could be expressed through like a thermal wall, a mass wall. It could be expressed through don't know if a greenhouse is appropriate on this, but somehow there's something that ties all of these spaces together in a provocative way. I don't know if I'm making any sense here. Okay, so if you're interested in these transition spaces, then what I would argue to you is that make these transition spaces something really important to the function of this building. That they embody this personality. They are integral into making this work. If you have 3 different transition spaces that are collecting the parts of this house together, then those transition spaces have a very important part of, let's say, moving energy around or collecting energy or something. I mean, they become almost little engines for this building that collect all this stuff, and they're just sort of throbbing because they're doing all these things, and they're dispersing this out to the rest of the house. And that's just one way. But right now, I think the plan doesn't have an idea behind it. I'm not seeing, it has all this stuff, right? It's got the path, it's got the water, but it doesn't have an idea yet. So you need to take these things that you're working with, if that's what you want to do, and let that really sort of throb and be a really important part of what this place is about. Now maybe, I don't know if I'm, at the end of the day, it's just like I'm blubbering or what, but I think that would be my read. That,
I think they also do this wind idea. Maybe you like the ventilation, but I really love this out here. As you were talking, I was looking at this out here.
the one at the bottom.
The one at the bottom, and it's about these flows, and there's this big diameter flow that's cruising across here, and then you start to hit some of this stuff, you get more turbulence, and I can start to see it in terms of spaces going in your house. But these are transition spaces, you're moving quickly through there, and I can retreat a little bit into some space of refuge spots in here. There's no flow in here. There's a little bit here, but this is a turbulent zone. Things are getting stirred up, and I think you can, yeah, you can tie into actually sort of passive ventilation techniques. But I think you're really organizing the space. This is diagram. Nice to see this section.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that, thinking and focusing on the linkages, and it's almost the exact opposite between Jason and Myron, where we're saying downplay. In this case, we're saying a similar sort of thing in which what we're saying is that transition state, the idea of when you have 2 things, creating a relationship between 2 things is important, right? It's that link that becomes important. Otherwise, they're just 2 atoms floating out there. And so, if you can focus on that and figure out ways in which to do what Professor Kess was saying about really energizing those spaces and making those spaces integral to embodying a sort of energy that comes from linking 2 ideas together, when you link a couple of ideas together. So that's what I would kind of focus on. And I think that when you do that if you go back to the last image where you had these really interesting diagrams, the last, that one, that these kind of, this kind of space here then becomes a really important experiential kind of point between going from one to the other. And you can start to pick up, I think, some sense of how you then program the floor plan and how you kind of put it together, because it's such a huge disconnect that I just don't see anything when we go into section 1 to the plan. Right.
So what he just pointed out could actually in many ways be the diagram for your scheme, based on what we're talking about right here. Okay? Thanks. Okay, one more, Janet?